And we are back with another day, and I've got all kinds of punches in front of me today. I have a 3-in-1 ribbon punch. I have the tab punch, a fireworks punch, a circle punch, and a 3-in-1 bevel punch, along with a trail sign and a square punch. And what I did is I ended up cutting a bunch of miscellaneous shapes out of some of my scraps. So I've got a couple of different colors of the squares. I have all brown in the trail signs, and I only did 3 of them. Not sure how we're going to use those yet, but we'll figure that out. And then I made a few different tags, 4 different tags, and I thought the decorative edge on this side would be fun. Otherwise, we can always flip it over, and it is brown. I have gone through and I did ink all of these. I would say the inking is what has been taking the longest time, and I've been using my Tim Holtz Distress ink. And I've also been using the Creative Memories brown pen, specifically for some of the smaller areas to try to get into the tags and get ink all over that. And then 2 in the inside of the ribbon punch too. So those a couple of different ways that I have had to use both throughout this. And then I did 3 different colors of circle punches. I have no rhyme or reason. I'm just punching a bunch of things, and we're going to try to figure out how to use them as we go through. And then this fireworks punch, I think it's kind of a fun little decorative punch. I enjoy using it, and I use it a lot. So I've got a bunch of those in various colors. The tab punch we're going to go ahead and we're going to use here in a little bit. And then I have tried to distress the edges the best that I can there. And then I made lots of different random colors of punches out of ribbon. I did keep some of them longer like this so that I can cut them in half if I want to, or we can use them long like they are. And again, depending on what's on the back side, we can always flip it over and use that too. The other thing that I did is I did cut a bunch of different mats. I decided that I was going to do 1 mat per page, and they're large enough to be able to put a 4x6 photo on top. And this is about the size of a 4x6 photo, so it will have a substantial border showing around it. So I do have a bunch of those. I got some brown, some orange, and some blue is what I did there. And then the last time that we had gotten together, I had talked about going ahead and creating some pockets for some journaling. So we will get to that here as I kind of push all this stuff to the side for a moment. All right, so I have had this pocket template. It's a metal die. I have no idea where I ended up getting it from. And in fact, this is actually the very first time that I've used it. So that's a win for me on that one. And then I also found these Project Life Becky Higgins journaling cards. I hung on to these because they were easy to go ahead and anytime anybody wanted to write or journal, they would be an easy addition to include and write on. So I've hung on to these, and I have decided that we are going to use a few of them here in this project. So I've made a couple already, and we are going to make this very last one. I did use a die cut machine. I have a manual one that you just turn a crank through and slide it through, and then it cuts out like this. It has some holes or some perforations along the edges, and that's where we're going to go ahead and fold it. And then it does have a little bit of decoration on both sides. And on this particular one, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have the brown show. You could figure out which way you wanted, and then that'll determine which way you fold the edges in. And the other thing I discovered, the best way to fold and glue this, I did use actual glue. I don't typically, but it was the best thing that I could think of. The best thing to do is to glue and sandwich them together this way instead of trying to wrap it around. I made the mistake the first time to try to wrap it around. Did not go well. So plan B, here we go. And so I'm just gonna put some glue on here. You don't need a lot. It'll take a little while for it to stick, but it has probably a better chance of staying stuck. Okay. And then all I did is I would just push down on here, give it a minute to take and adhere. And that looks like it is good. And I'm gonna push that one off to the side. These have been dried for a while, and then this card will go in that pocket. And you can see I already have these 4x6 journaling cards fit perfectly, and they slide in and out of here. So what we're gonna do is, I told you I did cut a couple of tabs here. Some of them are folded. I only glued the top part. I did not, so we could easily slide this on to the card carefully anyway. Oops. It's gonna make me work a little bit here, but there you can see I left enough room so I could just put it on there and glue it this way. And it could go left, right, could go in the middle, whatever your preference is. So we're gonna go ahead, and this one this is blue, I could go brown. I'm actually gonna do the blue. So all I do is fold it in half. And then again with the glue, I just go ahead and I put the glue in here, and I did kind of put a lot. Pushed it down and let it stick. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna decorate. We've got 4 pocket cards here, and we're gonna decorate 2 with the tabs, and then we're going to do 2 with either ribbon or fiber. And what I did is I did go through all of my supplies, and I did select some ribbon and some fibers that I thought would work well with this album. So we're just gonna go ahead and try and see which ones we can put together to have them look good. And first I'm gonna put the tabs back on, but because this is a brown, all the way around a brown one, I am gonna put a blue tab on it. And I am gonna sneak the glue in here. I'm gonna just separate it a little bit, sneak it in here, get it all nice and gluey and gooey. And then I'm gonna go ahead and try to slide it on. And this one I'm gonna put off center and closer to what is my right. And I have no rhyme or reason for it, but it's whatever is your preference is what you could do. So we've got that one, and then we'll go ahead and I'll actually put glue on this one as well. And we're just gonna, once we get these done, we're just gonna set them aside along with all the other die cuts that I had cut out in preparation for trying to finish and put the finishing touches on the album. And then this one I'm gonna put on the other side, closer to the other side. And we're just gonna push down. All right, and we'll let these dry. I'm gonna slide that one out and let it dry a little bit. And then on these, I do have a hole punch that I'm gonna punch in the middle of the card. Oops. And of course, falls on the floor for me. So I've got my hole punch here. I'm gonna just guess where the center is. And if you really wanted to, you could measure it to be more precise, but I'm all about just kind of going with it, eyeballing it and doing the best you can. Okay, I'm gonna move that so it cuts all the way. And I'm done with that. So now I've got my 2 holes cut, and we're gonna do ribbon in one. And I had selected the orange and the blue. Kind of because those are my 2 accent. One's a major color and one's kind of an accent color here. I'm gonna cut them a little bit longer. I can see I'm gonna have to get my scissors out for the actual ribbon or fabric. And I'm gonna cut this one at the same time, and we'll feed them through all at once too. And now you could do 2 different colors, you could do 3, you could do 1, whatever your preference is. And then we'll kind of go through and we'll clean up the edges and make it look good too before we call it done. All right, now I'm gonna try to get all of these together and send them through the little hole. Okay, then we're gonna loop it back, put it through, and then gently pull it through. I'd have to do 1 at a time. Do 1 at a time and kind of work them through so that you don't pull and wreck the pull the ribbon right through the hole, if you will. All right, we're gonna try to get them to stay kind of fringed and frayed apart. Now you can kind of see the edges are a little rough. You could leave them like that. You could clean them up. You could make them staggered, whatever your heart desires. I am very partial to clean edges, and the ribbons, the gross grain ribbons, I like to have them kind of at that angle from a point. And now these, the rickrack, I don't use that often. I don't know that I have a preference, but we're just gonna try to clean it up a little bit. And then we'll slide this back in, and we've got 1 of them done. And the next one, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use some of the different fibers, and I'm probably gonna pick maybe 3 different ones. So we've got, take a blue, and then I'm gonna go with the more muted orange. And then is there another, we could do the silver for a little bit of sparkle. So we'll do these 3. And now you could do, since these are smaller, you can do them 1 at a time if you wanted to. You could try to do all of them at the same time. If you had a preference, so you could do 1 at a time and just kind of see what it looks like and keep adding to it as you go. And you can see I grabbed the wrong scissors again. Those are my paper scissors. All right, we're gonna do that same type of method here where we put all 6 of these through at once. And then we kind of thread it back through. And this one's obviously it's a lot easier because it's smaller. But then that gives it a nice, and you can cut these leave them as long or as short as you want. You could stagger them a little bit from different lengths, which is what I may do here, just for a little bit of interest. Again, kind of clean up the edges. They always get frayed after you try to push them through like that. Okay. And there's another one. And so that one's kind of a fun little way, and you can kind of tighten that up a little bit too as you want. And I am going to keep the ribbon out and the fibers out because we probably will use them as we start to assemble the album with some of the die cuts that we've got going on. All right, and our last thing that we were working on trying to prepare is titles. So I showed you that I had a few of these different die cut with a view vellum quote stacks. They come in, I don't know, they're about what, 3 inches by 6 inches. I did cut them all down to kind of fit the saying that was on them. So they're all various sizes. And I did use eyelets, and that's what we're going to use to attach these as well. First of all, what I have been doing, and this has actually been very helpful to me, is I've got some vellum, Creative Memories has some vellum tape runners, and what I've been doing is trying to put them kind of in the middle over the words for no rhyme or reason. I only need a little bit because really what's going to hold this down is the eyelets that I'm going to put through it, but then this helps to hold it in place. So I get it on there, I get it centered to where I want it to be. And then you just rub over the vellum tape, wherever you put the vellum tape, and then it kind of like disappears, which is great. So what I decided to do, because remember I had an overabundance of supplies of eyelets, I'm gonna put eyelets in all 4 corners. And for this particular one, we're gonna go with blue. And I like to just use my hole punch. I have a small hole punch here that I'm gonna place it in on the corners and just punch away, get them all ready. And I did make sure, because I did do quite a few titles like this, I did make sure that I had enough of whatever color that I was using so that I wouldn't run out. All right, and I'm gonna stick all of these in here. Now this next part's gonna get pretty loud. This is part of the reason why I don't like eyelets. But again, I've got them, might as well use them, right? They do give a nice look. And remember, the other thing that I'm doing too is I have to put them on here because I'm using one sheet of paper and I've got the front and the back on that same sheet of paper. So I can't punch all the way through my pages. Otherwise I will have holes in the opposite side. All right, this is gonna be loud, so I'm gonna just work away real quick at this and let it go. All right, and it takes about 3 or 4 times. Sometimes I can get it done in 2 with this little guy. And this one's pretty sweet. It has 3 different sized eyelets that can be used, and it does punch holes too. So if you needed to punch it anywhere on this sheet of paper, you can. And they just slide in. It is magnetic in here, and you just slide them in and out. It's great. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's loud. So sometimes I'm up early or up late and working on things, and I have to kind of figure out and watch what I'm working on while my family is fast asleep. So here is kind of a quick look at some of the titles that I had put together. And I thought that they would all work for an album about an individual or a person, or an all about me album. So got some dreams, some joy, friends, home, memories, and just love and life in general, right? So I have a handful of these that we can use as well. And between the pocket envelopes, between the titles, all the die cuts that I did, I am down to 1 sheet of paper and some scraps from the pack that I had. So that's pretty good. So the question will be is, are we able to use all of this in the album? And I hung on to this because I have a feeling I'm going to do something with this. I couldn't bring myself to cut it up into smaller pieces. And if for some reason I find that I need some more circles or some more of the different die cuts I've got over here to my right, then I've got some extra paper here too. So I didn't want to use all of it. I hung on to these little pieces because we might be able to use them along the way as well. And I did go through the rest of my sticker stash and die cut stash and pulled out like all the collections and all the extras that you get. I did pull out a bunch of things that I did think we could potentially figure out how to work in. So I have a title. I do have some enamel, the dots I thought we could use, or the little pinpoints for places. And I've got some more dots. This one is actually supposed to be like a water one, but I figured these little drops, you could flip them upside down. They kind of look like that. So we may use those as decoration as well. I have some clouds, some love, and then these were various leftover remaining pieces of stickers that I thought we could figure out how to use. Again, we've got the little place marker dots on this one. There's potentially this right here, some family fun. Not all of these are gonna work, but there were some things that I liked on the sheets that I was gonna just keep in mind. This one is the little white letters that I thought could work in this situation too. So we'll see if we can figure out those. Same thing here with some of the, this was a travel one, but there's some different words here that could be used. We've got some arrows, maybe some of these, the best day ever, the epic, and it kind of the family, the siblings. And I had a couple of these, so I've got two. And then here, got the hashtag blessed is kind of what drove me to keep this one in. It also has some border stickers that we could look at using. And then I think some of these will fit in with a color scheme. And here, I think it was this stuff down here. In the news, new routines, grateful for this, missing this, were some of the ones that I thought could be used from this COVID sheet. So I pulled out everything that I thought might be useful, and the next step is trying to go through and determine what should be on each of the pages. And how I'm gonna do that is what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open the book up, and because I've got everything in here, I'm just gonna start sliding some of the certain pieces in here to divide it up and make sure that I have enough of everything that I think I want to use and what I want to put on here. And then I'll pull them out and try to start assembling them page by page. And remember how I said the titles, I wasn't sure I was going to put them on. I still am not sure I'm going to put them on, but we're going to look at it. And if it's things like best friend or some of the dreams, I'll look at what the saying is and determine if I should put it in here or include it, or if it's just one that might be repeated because there's a couple on dreams. Maybe one gets put in and then one gets put off to the side somewhere, and it's up to the recipient to figure out how they want to use it in the album. So that is my next step. I'm going to start working on that, and then I will rejoin you and show you where I am at, and then we'll start putting everything together. Now we are going to try to wrap up and put all of the embellishments and decorations on all of the pages for our album. And I'm going to go page by page today. I had laid out the first page, and keep in mind what I wanted to do is have the recipient be able to put a 6x4 photos and not really have to trim too many of them. There'll be some that they have to trim, but not a ton of them. And what I'm going to do on this page, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I have a little banner down here. I did put some foam on it to pop it up and give it a little bit dimension. But I wanted to kind of play with the placement so that the user could just put the photo in and not have to worry about dealing with the adhesive on the back. I'm also going to have a tag that I did raise up as well. I'm going to put the tag here, and the photo will just kind of tuck underneath. And then I've got some love stickers. Hopefully they're white on white, so that's great. But I'm going to just kind of place them down the right side of the page and put that here. And I'll have one of them. I may have the E on here, or I may just keep it all right on the two blues. So I'm gonna put that together here real quick, and then we'll move on to page number 2. All right, and there's page number 1. We can have another title here and some journaling here, along with the photo in the middle to start the album off. All right, for page 2, we're gonna go ahead and try this layout. I did put some foam adhesive on the back of this, primarily because the eyelets are gonna make it stand up a little bit. And then I did raise up all of the pieces on the corner too, because again, I want the user to be able to, or the recipient be able to just kind of slide the photo in there. And then I've got some leftover enamels from another kit. I'm either going to use the hearts or these yellow-orange ones to try to tie in the colors over here in some spots over in this side. So let's go ahead and we'll put page number 2 together. All right, and there is page number 2. We have a journaling that can be tucked behind here. We can have our title here. There can be some additional words either from a sticker placed here or they can be written. And then you did see me just kind of try to figure out what ones. I did have some more enamel dots left over from another kit. So I found a color that matched and tried to put another one in there. I kind of like things in 3s, so that's kind of where I went with that one. All right, let's move on to page number 3. All right, here's a quick look at page 3. And I've got some little tags here. I did put some foam adhesive on the back of the circle to try to add some dimension and attractiveness to the upper right corner. I've got the photo mat here, and then the title. I'm gonna I kind of like it right here. I had tried to put it down here and give some more open space, but I think I'm gonna kind of leave it here in the middle. And then again, the photo can go right here. You'll notice that these are very simplistic layouts, but yet they're very easy to kind of pull together with some of the different geometric shapes. The other nice thing that I have noticed about this as I'm putting these photo mats together, when I put the background together, I didn't really have a plan of attack. I just kind of put them down and kind of started to separate and look at the designs. Well, if you don't necessarily like some of the designs that are on the paper, the nice thing is that photo mat can cover up a lot of the items that you don't like or the busyness of the paper. So just keep that in mind too, is that even if the base page doesn't look exactly like you wanted it from start to finish, there are ways to try to cover it up and hide and use maybe some of the better colors or the better parts of it that you do like. So let's go ahead and we'll put page 3 together. And there is a quick look at page number 3. All right, and here is what page 4 will look like. I did, again, because of the eyelets, I did raise up with the foam adhesive the saying. I've got the banner down here again that I raised up so that that photo can be slid right underneath it. I'm gonna add the little firework to the side for decoration. And then I'm gonna use some of the enamel dots again. I don't know if I'm gonna go really simple and just use one of the hearts up in the upper corner, or again, I do have these orange dots that I could use as well. So let's go ahead, we'll put this one together real quick. And you can kind of see what I was talking about is this background's pretty busy, so I am covering up a large amount of it, which I think kind of helps ground the page and makes it all kind of come together, as not all of the colors are very strong and apparent in the page layout. And then I did want to keep this little box or the title, I did want to keep it kind of spilling off of the colored paper a little bit too, similar to how the photo mat is. And again, I wanted to hopefully just be able to slide that photo in. So let's just confirm that that can happen. Yep, may show a little bit, but there's a little bit of wiggle room for error there too. And I am not gonna raise up the little firework, which is very unheard of for me because I like lots of dimension on my pages, if you haven't noticed. But we're gonna put that right here. And then let's go ahead and attach this. And there we go. All right, now for the enamel dots. I kind of liked the little hearts, so we're gonna see what one looks like in the upper corner here. And I think I'm gonna leave it like that. All right, and that is page 4. And I'm gonna continue on putting these together, and join me back for page number 5. All right, here's a quick look at page number 5. And when I put these together, I kind of just threw a bunch of different embellishments into the album so that when I pulled the page back out to start working on it, I could try to figure out what I was thinking when I put it together and threw all the little pieces in it. Well, by the time I pulled this one out, this page needed a little something. I believe all that I had included with it was and actually it was a different color tag. We had the little firework, and we had the little file folder tab in addition to the photo mat. And you could see that I feel like I needed to kind of round this out a little bit. So I still had some extra spare parts that I had cut as I was trying to use up a lot of the scraps. So I decided to add a little bit of a decorative element here. The idea will be that potentially there is a title that lands here. And then the other thing that I added was a little bit of fiber behind the firework as well. I, along with many of you, probably have an ample supply of just about everything. And so I'm trying to, again, figure out how to use it, incorporate it into my work. Otherwise, it just sits there on the shelf and never gets used. So this is page number 5. And I'm going to go ahead and I will assemble it. And then we'll move on to page number 6. I will say, too, that I had put this project away for a while. It was one where I had gotten through, cut up all the embellishments, but then wasn't that excited to start working on it again, which is kind of disheartening because craft projects are supposed to be enjoyable. You're supposed to want to get back at them and get out there and finish them, right? So it took a little bit for me to actually get back into this one, but I'm 5 pages in, and I'll be honest, I haven't spent a lot of time trying to figure out what to do. So sometimes the break is all that is needed in order to be able to get back out and get in there and kind of wrap up a project and kind of feel invigorated again. So I'm kind of excited to wrap this one up today, and there's a few reasons for that, because I will have another album coming up soon. It will be themed more towards babies and their first year of life. Creative Memories has a new kit that just was released, and so I'm waiting for all of that to show up so that I can start figuring out how to put that together as well. So look for that episode in the near future. And I am struggling here to get this little guy on. I should have had it on ahead of time. That's okay. All right, and I'm gonna put it right about there. So there we go. Got that one on. Again, I'm trying to figure out how to use it, so it's kind of a learning curve all at the same time. So I want it to kind of, there you go. It doesn't need to be directly. Maybe I'll tuck this one underneath. See, sometimes it's kind of forgiving. There. Kind of wanted them off on each side there. All right, and then I did raise these up, so I'm gonna go ahead and individually attach these down. And I kind of liked them in this. I didn't need to have it touch per se. So I kind of liked it in the blue and the brown. And I am very happy that I went through and spent the time to ink the edges. You can see when I put blue on blue, it does help it stand out a little bit. That was not the piece that I wanted. And then these two, I can put them to touch. And then this one was supposed to go right in the middle. Oh, I could have put some extra adhesive on there, but I'm calling it good with the foam. It usually does a good job. And there is page number 5. Here is a look at page number 6. And there's a couple of different things, like I struggled with this based on what I had in the book, and then some of the additional embellishments that I needed to figure out how to put on the page. But here's where I landed. And one of the things that I did, so I do have a spot for the tag to go in and out for some journaling. And what I tried to do is with the foam adhesive, I did raise it all up, but then there's also a nice little spot where the tag can kind of fit in and it stops it so it doesn't go all the way through. So that's one way that I tried to kind of guide where the tag went. And the other thing that I did is I ended up adding some additional embellishments to it, some fiber, some ribbon. The tag was already with it, and then I'm going to put the best family. The other thing is, I don't know if you can see it, but I did have a punch where I didn't get a good clean cut. So I'm going to hang this off the edge of the page, cut that off, and nobody will be any the wiser. So I'm going to go ahead and start assembling page number 6. And I squeezed this over probably a little bit too far. But I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna push that down. Again, I gotta allow for the photo to be placed underneath there. So I think that'll end up being okay at the end of the day. Now I'm down to this section up top. I'm actually gonna cut this one. I'm gonna place this one and stagger it up a ways. And I will trim the top of it off. And there is a look at page 6. And this will lay flat once we get it into the album. So I'm not too concerned about that. And then I will add, I'm gonna try to figure out if I should, I'm gonna kind of angle these. Maybe not. Just stagger them a little bit. I kind of like that. I want it hanging off the edge there. And there we go, page number 6. Here's a look at page 7. This one took a little bit for me to remember what my plan of attack was, but at the end of the day, this is where I landed. So I've got my photo mat. I did layer both the little firework and the circle on top of the square. And then I did decide to add, and I don't typically do this, so this is very out of character. I did add a little bit of a journaling box here to this page as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start putting adhesive on everything and attaching things down. All right, and here's a look at page 7. I did have a couple of things that I was trying to accomplish with the photo mat placement and making sure that I had it. I did want both of these stickers that I raised up to overlap the photo. So I think there should be in an okay spot. This one probably could have been moved up a little bit more, but it should work. So that is a look at page 7, and we will move on to page 8. All right, here's the plan for page 8. I did have to spend a little bit of time. I did re-ink because that white core paper, I don't know if it just didn't bother me on the rest of the pages, but I definitely noticed it on here. So I did take my Creative Memories marker and just kind of ran it along the edge to kind of close all that up. Then I also ran it across the top of the journaling card too, so that it had a nice cohesive look and feel. I also ended up adding some fiber, and I did have to cut down the tags because they were just generic length tags. So I did try to get it to fit my page, and then I really do like the fiber in here as well, so I did add that too. So let's go ahead and attach page 8. And there we have page 8. Like I said, I'm really liking the fiber look to this. And so I had seen this on cards, so I was trying to figure out, I'm like, can I adapt this into my scrapbooking? And of course you can. The other thing, I did know that this journaling pocket would also overlap my photo mat. So you did see me try to look at and where I needed to put the adhesive so that I could easily just put in a photo or have somebody put in a photo right there. Here's a look at page 9. I am trying to shake things up a little bit and maybe not go up and down with the ribbons or the little pennants, but I am trying to see if I can move things around from horizontal to vertical, as people have photos that go both directions. So this is the current plan. I will raise this up, and I've got this up already. I'm gonna try to do it offset a little bit, and I will most likely need to add something else up here or potentially down here. I just haven't figured out what that is yet. So I'm gonna start working on it and see where the creativity takes me. Pull my silicone mat over while I put glue on the back of this, and I am gonna put it all over this little guy. I want to make sure he sticks. And my cardstock that it's going up against is textured, which makes me want to make sure I have an even more or enough, at least enough adhesive on there so that it doesn't fall off in the near future. I took about 10 minutes to sit and try to fuss and figure out what stickers I wanted to add to this page to kind of bring it home and across the finish line. Hopefully I landed in a pretty good spot by the end of it. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. All right, and that is a look at that page. All right, this page, I spent a little bit of time trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Ultimately, this is where I want to land, but I wanted to take you through my creative journey, if you will. So I had toyed with the idea of having this up higher, having some of the embellishments placed in the nooks and crannies, off to the side, and none of it was looking like I wanted it to. I even flipped it this way, trying to figure out how and where to put things so that it looked cohesive. And at the end of the day, I went back to kind of a simple look. I mean, they're smaller pages, so it's harder to there's not a lot of space, and you don't have to fill a lot of space, which is the beauty of it. So this is where I landed, and I actually really like this look. There is the option for some journaling down here, and I will likely put a little journaling card in there as well so that the user can go ahead and talk about what's on the photo as well. But I think this is where I landed, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start putting things down on the page. So I do encourage you guys to go through your creative journey as you're putting pages together and try some things out before you land on your final destination. Challenge yourself to look at the page a little bit differently and see what else you could do, and kind of keep going from there to see and build something that is something that you really enjoy and like. So it's a very simplistic page, but at the end of the day, it's got some decorative elements on it. The main focus at the end of the day will eventually be the user's photos. And then again, I'll put a little journaling box down there too. Okay, I'm back to kind of show you what happened. I realized when I went to go put this page back together that, remember, I'm doing front to back, so these have to have a logical flow to them. And as soon as I went to go kind of double check it, I realized that this side was upside down. So in order to try to salvage it and not take everything off of the paper, I was able to flip flop these two items. There was some scarring, don't get me wrong, some torn paper, whatever, but I did try to cover that up to the best of my ability. So one thing to really watch out for as you're trying to do these front and back on one page. So just a FYI, I'm sure it'll happen at least one more time while I finish up the rest of the pages, but hopefully I will pay a little bit closer of attention. All right, our next page took a little bit of an interesting turn. Again, I had the embellishments all in the packet, and when I got it onto the page, I was like, I don't know what to do with these. They didn't look right. But this is where I landed. So what we're going to do, and I did have to look elsewhere for some inspiration to try to figure out how to bring this whole thing together. So I'm going to have the 4x6 photo here. I will put the foam adhesive to raise these up behind there. But I think what I'm going to do is keep it flat to the bottom. So it'll just kind of look like it's coming out a little bit. And then I'm going to have the tag over here. This will be for journaling. These could also be for journaling or some additional smaller photos that could be attached to the page as well. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start putting everything together and creating this layout. All right, and I'm going to stagger these at the bottom so that they're not a straight line all the way across. So what I think I'm going to do is put the adhesive on the page, and then that way, because they'll be right next to each other, and then that way the only thing that I really have to worry about is trying to figure out how to line them up against this so that the 4x6 photo has some room to get tucked in there. I'm going to lay these down first and then probably pick them up one by one. And I think I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back, some removable stuff, just so that I've got something that I can something that I can use as a guide. It's really all I'm after. Whoop, and that just knocked it right off. Probably not enough. Okay. And then I'm going to put my adhesive here because I know it's going to overhang just a little bit on each side. And now let's see if I can use my mat to try to line up as close to the center as possible. And I believe I have the most room with that one. And I want to try not to stick it all down yet till I get them laid out here how I want them. And I'm just really kind of going for evenness on the edges, on the outside edges of the photo. So I'm going to shift them around here in a second once I see how much space I have. Okay. All right, and I'm going to start with the middle one. Try to get it so it's lined up straight. And I think if I'm off a couple of centimeters, I'm gonna call that good. My first time trying this one. Okay, so now this, I'm gonna put this right at the very bottom. And might actually raise this guy up a little bit. And I did that for a few reasons. I don't want, I don't want any of the white to show of the photo. I want it completely hidden, that bottom edge. So it's kind of like a picket fence, but not really. Okay, and then let's see if we can shimmy this guy out. There we go, we got it. I'm gonna rub this off. And then once I'm done, I'll go back and cut all of that off. And then I am gonna put the everyday down here at the bottom too, but I think what I'll do is I'll cut that off first and then I'll adhere that. We're gonna use foam tape. The other interesting thing that I tried to do too is incorporate a little bit more of the fiber. And I added 3 little, sometimes I did something a little bit different than what some people might normally do. I did 3 separate individual ones. A lot of times people will put all of them together and shove them through and it'll all be an intertwined, organized mess. But here what I did is I kind of split them all out so that they each, we had the blue in the middle and then the same multicolored thread on the outside. And really, I just wanted to try something different. Okay, and then those will kind of tuck off to the sides once it's in the belt, in the album. And then these are going to be just attached flat. So I just probably have to stand up to line these up again. But they fit on here very nicely. Kind of reminded me of like a color block. All right, and I'm gonna flip this over. Actually gonna take bigger scissors this time and cut these right at the edge. Now, after I get done cutting these, you can go back because I did ink. Remember, I inked everything. You could go back and ink the white with a marker. I'd say the marker is probably the easiest thing at this point, especially since it'd be a little bit harder to run the whole thing over the stamp pad. We're getting a little crazy on the back side of this page, so I got to be careful here. So I think I've got that all covered up there, and really it's the only reason for that is the paper has that white core in it, and I'm trying to kind of hide and mask that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on the back of the everyday and put that on there. I mean, it could have gone over here too. It could have gone up here. I was trying to really just figure out a way to use some of these little flags up in different ways. And I did have to go look for some inspiration on other creative ways. And that's kind of how I landed on trying to use those little flags up and use them vertically coming from the bottom of the page instead of having them hang down or across the sides. And inspiration can be from anywhere. It could be from a magazine, it could be from past albums. It could be from just scrolling on the internet and seeing what you come across. And there is another page done. All right, I'm taking a little bit of a different approach on this page. And what I'm going to do is I'm turning the journaling box on its side, and you will be able to kind of pull this in and out. And then the reason why I kind of went a little bit in a different direction is to shake it up a little bit. But then I also, as I was going ahead and putting the marker on the edge, I had wanted to cover up my little snafu here as I was trying to get the edge hidden and not white and all that fun stuff. So I'm gonna put this little decorative element down here towards the bottom of the journaling box, and then the home is where they love you. I'm gonna raise this up a little bit and then put that towards the brown parts of it. The journaling box will overlap the photos a little bit, so I will need to make sure that I don't put adhesive right at the bottom edge of this. I will need to move it in a little bit as I put the page together. And then I do want to make sure that the tab is on the page. And actually, I'm going to raise that up a little bit. There, we'll adhere that down and then just do a little double check. And the photo can be placed right up into it. There, it'll fit in there nicely. And then because the pocket is raised, I'm not gonna raise it up. I'm just gonna put adhesive towards the bottom. And then remember, I'm trying to cover up the little marker incident. So there's that. And then I did the same thing, or you'll notice I did the same thing on the journal or on the title. I put the foam adhesive in a couple of spots, and then the adhesive at the bottom, which in hindsight, I probably needed to raise the adhesive up a little bit more. That's okay. And I'm gonna line and center this up within the journaling box and with the top of the photo mat. And then this will still be able to slide in and out. And there is a look at that page. Here's a quick look at the next page. It's pretty simplistic, but I'm all on board with that, as some of the pages are a little bit more elaborate and this one's just a little bit more simplistic. So therefore, hopefully the photos can take over along with the story. You have seen me use this trick a number of times where I'll take a 4x6 sheet of cardstock and try to get an idea of where the photo is going to fall so that I can place the sticker on the sheet here. And I may have to trim the sticker off just a little bit, but hopefully that's not too bad. And then the same thing up here. And then I did put foam adhesive on the back of that because you know I love it. But I also wanted a little bit of dimension above the flag here. And again, I'm coming from a side, not from the top. And then I wanted the title to kind of take up as much space down in the corner as it can possibly take up. So I'm going to take these little guys all off now and try not to miss any. That's the wonderful thing about getting the foam adhesive on a roll. You can cut those teeny tiny little pieces if you need to try to fit whatever word, title, shape, or whatever you may have that you're trying to raise up, and kind of get it in there. It does take a little bit of time to put it all on and make sure you don't see it from the front side, but it does add a nice little bit of dimension to the title. And I wanted this to spill off the orange. And there we go. And we have this one complete. All right, and here's the next page that I've got laid out. Again, pretty simplistic. I really have come to enjoy the pockets, the journaling pockets. So I'm very glad that I challenged myself to use that. And I think one of the reasons why I hadn't used it in the past is because I had no real way to cut it out. I did not have a die cutting machine that could cut out the pocket. My machine was, I think, 4 inches was the max from a width standpoint that it could do. But I did invest in a newer, larger one that does do a lot bigger dies. So I was very happy with that. And that was actually one of the reasons where if I was going to invest in another piece of equipment, it needed to be able to do everything that I had currently in my stock. Yeah, you can always add to it, but I didn't want to have to not be able to continue to use my stuff that I have, that I've already purchased, that I already invested in. All right. And then this one will come together pretty quick. I do like quick pages, and this one, again, like I said, is pretty simplistic, but I do enjoy the hidden journaling cards on them. And just as a trick and tip, as you do some journaling that is hidden, you can always cut the page protector, like cut a slit, so that this is on the outside and it can be taken in and out of the page as people are viewing it, if you want them to be able to do so. If you do not want them to be able to do so, I would suggest not cutting a slit in the page protector. That way it's more personal and just for you or anybody else that wants to go through the ability to kind of take the page out and then read the journaling. And it could be like this has lines on the front, but if you need to for some odd reason, you can always use the back. The back has the other direction, but a piece of cardstock would take care of that as well. So here is our next one. And here's a look on the before for the next page. And what I'm going to do is I did put foam adhesive on just part of it because I will glue the rest of it down to the circle, which already has foam on it. So it's going to be all at the same length and it'll get attached together. I do have a space for some journaling along with the photo. Again, a pretty simple layout that comes together pretty quick, but it still looks good. So let's go ahead and I will start. And I am actually really starting to like not putting things dead center, kind of off center on the page. So I'm going to go ahead. I need to put adhesive or glue on the back of this part of it so that I can go ahead and glue it down, but I'm going to take this stuff off first so that once I got the glue on, I can just stick it down quick. And then I did want it to kind of bleed off a little bit. And I did put glue probably on more than I needed to, but the glue will dry and it'll stick to where it needs to stick to. And there we go, we have another page done. All right, and here's a look at the next page. And again, fairly simplistic. I did add a little bit of a journaling box here, and I did ink around the edges so that it would stand out against the white on white. And I'm gonna go ahead and start putting everything down. And of course, I raised everything up like I have been throughout the entire process. And we are down to about 4 more pages after this one. So we are getting down there. It actually has gone pretty fast. I know there's been some extra time that I've spent just trying to figure out what was I thinking, since I did put this project down for a couple of weeks and then pick it back up. So that part has been that's taken a little bit of time for me, but I'm also trying not to overthink it too. There's been a couple of times where I've had some blocks from creativity. So I've had to kind of look elsewhere for some inspiration to be able to finish the page and put it together and still feel like it's kind of very cohesive throughout the entire album. So we've got one more element here. We got this journaling box, and then I'm going to call this page complete as well. All right, and I will meet you back with the next one. All right, I've got the next page kind of laid out and prepped. And so I did raise up the squares and the circles. I am going to leave all of this flat only because I don't want to keep adding some of the foam adhesive to the back of those. That's kind of small. So this one, again, fairly simplistic. I did struggle with it a little bit with what I had in there because I am getting down to the end of all of the parts and pieces that I have. So I'm trying to go back to kind of like a basics and keep it simple method, just so that it all kind of looks good and it is very cohesive throughout the album again. And on these squares at the bottom, I'm going to put the squares down first. I don't think it matters because I was planning on trying to figure out how to use the stripes, but I couldn't ever come up with anything that would look good. So I just kind of nixed it. And again, kept it simple. Now you could use a ruler to try to line these up too a little bit better. I'm just going to eyeball it. And the foam adhesive that I'm using is only 1/4 of an inch, so it's pretty thin adhesive. So even if I'm doubling it up like that, it's still okay because it's not a lot of extra volume. And I have actually used more journaling boxes than I have expected that I would throughout this project. So I'm very pleased with that. Hopefully it will encourage the recipient to actually journal and share their stories. I know not everybody is a huge fan of journaling, but when we're gone, the memories are only as good as the people that we told the stories to in the first place, unless we have it all written down. And I will say I probably have done a better job with my children's albums than I have with my own on trying to capture the stories behind it. So hopefully they appreciate that. And sometimes I think that's the only reason that they remember some of the stories is because they are captured and they're written down in their albums. And from time to time, they'll go back and take a look at them. I don't think it'll be till later in life that a few of them will appreciate them. But it's also very therapeutic for me to be able to do this. It allows me some creativity in capturing the memories. All right, I think I'm gonna shimmy it that way. There we go. And there's another one done. All right, and here's kind of what I'm gonna try to do with this layout. I've been trying to do this with the circles and the squares, is to try to do some offsets. And it didn't always work in every layout, but in this one, I think it will. So I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to put this one together. And you can see I'm continuing to kind of cover up the bulk of the colors, which for this layout, I specifically think that's just fine. And the reason why I say that is because everything on here is kind of the same blue. Like I've got darker blue paper here, some up here on the title, but it all kind of goes well together and kind of plays off one another. So hiding some of those oranges works in my favor this time. I'm just gonna try to center that the best I can between that. And then let's go ahead and we'll put this on. And this was just a small strip of paper I had left over. And I was like, well, I'll hang on to it and see if I can figure out a way to put it in here. And we did. Line that up. Then I'm going to raise these up. And we are going to put it so that the blue is at the top and the brown is kind of down below. Kind of to do the color blocking. And now you can see the circles aren't exactly perfect for the amount of blue that's on there, but I notice it and I highly doubt too many other people will. And then we just have the journaling box. And I better check, did I ink it? I did not, so I'm gonna ink this quick. And then I'm gonna put this one down. I had been inking them as I have gone along and used them. I got a little heavy in this one, but I think that's all right. It's a little bit more distressed. All right, and we got another one down. We're down to 2 more layouts, maybe 3. What's on this side? Nope, 2 more layouts, and then we are done. I have been trying to keep in track of the directions. I've almost messed up again a couple of times, but I have been able to catch myself. All right, here is what my second to my last page is gonna look like. And we're gonna go ahead and start putting things down. And I'm gonna start with this up in the corner. I did change this up quite a bit. I had a couple of elements in there that I thought would go well with the page, and I was trying to figure out how do I keep them in there and use them. And then it was really down to the tag and the placement of the tag, and nothing really kind of seemed right until I added the journaling box, and then I was like, this is a little bit easier a little bit better of a use of it. And this page is intended for some travel. So some travel words and maybe a favorite place that the individual traveled to or the couple traveled to. So include a little bit of room for some journaling. I've got the tag in here too. This time I did use all of the same fibers, and I put 3 strands together, which really at the end of the day makes up 6. So I put those on there to kind of help add a little bit of softness to the page. And I want to make sure to cover that, but then overlap everything. So we got that going on. And then we are down to this little spot up here. And so I used up most of the paper, and obviously I did use some of my other supplies that were leftovers from other kits collections, or just because I had them on hand. I tried to use up a lot of that, but if I do have any other extra paper left over, I will be kind of moving it or transitioning it to my card stash. And I do make a lot of cards primarily to donate. I do send some out, just probably not as many as I can create in a period of time. So that is where my extra paper will land, and some of my other, like I've got some squares left over and things like that too, that it will make it into that collection of stuff. And there's that. We are down to 1 more page, and then I will do a final reveal of the entire album. All right, here's a look at the final page. I'm going to go ahead and attach everything as I start to kind of talk through it. I will say that I have really enjoyed using the little banners, flags, whatever you call them, and then trying to come up with a nice little collage of embellishments, die cuts to be used. And some words in this one I think would be very useful as well, and kind of add to it. And I may look for that. I will say that one of the things that you can do after you get everything complete, you can always go back and look at your pages and say, are they missing anything? And then see if you take a look at them and see if you need to add anything else to them. It's always a good, sometimes you can go through and sometimes you get like a second wind of creativity. Or you see something that you're like, well, could I apply that to this page? So there's different things that you could try to go ahead and add to the pages. All right, so that was the last page. It came together pretty quickly. I have probably spent about maybe 3.5, 4 hours this morning on this project. And the reason why I say that is because I was doing things in between, i.e. laundry. I had to eat breakfast. I had to have my coffee, etc. But let's do a quick flip through. I did see one thing that flew off, so I'll need to figure out where that went and attach it back onto the page so it doesn't happen again. And then once that's done, I will go ahead and place this in the album, and this is our final product. So I'm pretty excited. I didn't think I was going to finish it today. So we've got page 2. I'm going to see if I can, I don't know if I can keep them all on the page, but at least get the bottom page. We have this one, and I believe, so something came off right here. Okay, I may have to go back and put some more foam adhesive on these so that they don't fly off again. It was right here. Okay, let's fix that as long as we're going through this again. Love the fibers. Wish there was the easier way to keep them on the page, right? Oh, that's right. And then this one, well, it's too late now. Okay. And then this was the one that we were able to kind of move in and out. And I flipped through that one already. Yep. So a lot of these I had, you can tell where they belong based on the layouts. I kind of did the back pieces the same. And we got that one. And some more words could be used up here too. And then remember, this is the one that I had to flip-flop everything. And you could put some more embellishments up here as well, kind of up in this area, or even down here too. But all in all, I think it looks good. And hopefully the recipient, whoever that might be, enjoys it as much as I enjoyed putting it together. And I'm hopeful that as you were going through and watching the video and the process, I'm hopeful that you gain some insights on different things to try in your own scrapbooking and your creative journeys. And that is the album. So thank you for joining me, and join me next time for our next project.